Good day, beautiful people, on another episode of Just What the Are You Talking About? We're going to continue on with part 2 of my talk with Leslie on grief. Hope you guys enjoy it, and this is a continuation from the previous one, so we're going to dive right on in. See you guys. Hope you enjoy it. I'm from a law enforcement background. I want you guys to see me like this, all the time, and I feel like this. So there's a coach, one of the swim coaches. And again, this is after the Parkland incident. So one of the swim coaches, he says to me, he's like, "Hey, I'm going to this thing that's being offered through, they were called the Center for Mind Body Medicine. That's what they're called." And he's like, "I'm going to this thing that's being hosted by the Center Mind Body Medicine, and they're going to be doing groups." And I'm like, what are we talking about here? And he was like, "Oh, it's just groups to help people cope and deal with, the major incident that happened." So the Center for Mind Body Medicine is a nonprofit. They're here in DC, and they go around the world offering different skills and tools, mindfulness, meditation skills, all holistic practices to help people deal with very traumatic incidents, even like the fires that are going on, or they go to Africa and deal with stuff. I mean, they
Amazing.
go any major incident,
Yeah.
even if it's a natural disaster, right? Like Puerto Rico and all the things. So the Center for Mind Body Medicine was in Florida, and they were offering this workshop for free.
Nice.
Yes. So the first week you go in as a participant. You're in the group, you're experiencing, and it's a week. It's almost like a boot camp for your brain. Like it was
Right.
so intense. And so you're doing this thing for 4 days, right? Back to back. They
Right.
give you a week of a break. Then you come back the second week, and what they're doing now is they are training you now be able to become a facilitator should you choose to want to continue that practice,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's
So
great.
I went through it, and I went through the second week, and I was like, I want to do this. I think that when you ask me kind of what was it that kind of helped, it was that.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you, in that first group, the movie Hancock with Will Smith, where he's sitting in the
Yes.
group at the jail and he's like, "Yeah, Skip, like I'm not talking."
Yes.
That was me. That was me in the group. And I was surrounded by these older, mostly white women, and it was all women mostly in my group. Yeah, they were all women in my group. They're, older white women, whether they are faculty of Parkland or relatives of or mothers of the students that go to the school that, were at the school during that time. They had a very, very close attachment to the incident, right? But I'm sitting there like, they're not Latina. They're not former police officers. They didn't lose like how I lost him. They don't understand. They can never understand. I'm not gonna talk to them. I was very closed off, very,
Yeah.
very closed
Yeah.
off. And I remember telling my sister, and she was like, "If you're not gonna go in there and take a full advantage of this beautiful opportunity that you've been given, I highly suggest you leave and give it to somebody who deserves it."
Wow. Wow.
I was on the phone like, ugh, fine.
You're like, what's wrong with
Like,
her?
oh, what's her problem?
Right. Right.
So then I was like, you know what? She's right. This is a gift. What am I
Yeah.
being a brat for?
Right.
And it wasn't until one of the women spoke and mentioned how in the past year, one of the students dropped a book, and the sound of the book
Right.
messed all of them up.
Right.
And she's in tears telling how difficult that was because of what they'd experienced. And I'm now sitting there like, I jump at every single, and a freaking penny could drop, and I'm like, oh, okay. And I was
Right.
like, wait a minute. So just because you mean to tell me, like in my little dumb brain, right? I was like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me just because she doesn't look like me or doesn't have my experiences or doesn't, didn't lose him the way I lost him, or her trauma isn't my trauma? You mean to tell me she still knows what that feels like because she's
Right.
human?
Right. Right. We share this
Oh,
even though
wow.
we're not exactly the same. Yeah.
We have more in common than we think.
Yeah.
Man, at that point, I still talk to some of these women. They're still my friends. I have them on Facebook. I love these women. We were bonded in that moment, and it opened up my brain out of this little very like culty brain, not culty, but like I'm very like, these are my people, this is what I do, this is who understands me kind of
Yeah.
mindset to expanding me to understand that a human is a human and a human understands feelings.
Right.
And we're
And
all
we
gonna
all, and
all of it.
especially with PTSD and grief, like with these two things, the symptoms are very similar no matter who we are.
No matter who we are. No
Yeah.
matter who we are. Like I said, there's two things in life that we're all going to unfortunately experience. That's trauma and grief.
Yes.
So you mean to tell me because your grief doesn't look like mine, or your trauma doesn't look like mine, you don't get it? We all know dabda. We all know sad. We all know tears. We all know anger. We all know depression. We all know it. And it doesn't matter where you came from, what you look like, what's your story, what's your background, how much you make or don't make. We are human. Like this
Yeah.
is just really, this is the vessel, but what's going on inside is going on inside to all of us
Right.
differently for
Right.
different things, whether we know it or not. And that was when that reality hit. And I was immediately attracted to everything that I was doing in that moment. It was bringing me back to life. It was really helping me. So, I went through the second week to learn how to become a facilitator. Then after that, you have to run your own groups, and I did. I ran two separate groups. I ran a group for one of the victims from the Parkland.
Mm-hmm.
He was Hispanic, kind of underserved. So for his mom and her family, they
Right.
all spoke only Spanish. So I did it in Spanish. I did it with them. And then I did another one for women executives in law enforcement. And I mean, I still talk to these people. Like we are connected and bonded in that experience. And the fact that I was able to help them navigate their emotions through visualizations, through we did all kinds of things. We did a imagery, we did drawing, we did all kind of mindfulness and meditations and forgiveness meditations and breathing and check-ins and just it was beautiful. And it was all stuff that you could just do
Right. Right.
without having to put anything in your body, without having to sex, drugs, alcohol. No, no, no. No.
Just mindfulness.
Just mindfulness. That's
Yeah.
it. Happen.
I wish everyone knew the power of mindfulness practices like meditation, especially related to PTSD and grief and the group work. It's
Oh,
so incredibly
group
powerful.
work. I love
You're
group
describing this group, which kind of fell into your lap, like from out of nowhere,
work.
when I was going through my divorce and recovering from my accident, which happened simultaneously. I found mindfulness based stress reduction, MBSR.
Mhm.
And that, of all the things that have transformed my life, and there have been really great people I've worked with in therapy, but the mindfulness work in those groups was more impactful than anything else. Absolutely. And then becoming a facilitator, because I felt the same reaction. Like, okay, I want to do this.
Yeah, I got
And
certified. I
it
was like, I want to.
really, it brought so much clarity. And when you were talking earlier about that feeling of what am I doing here? I think that when people find themselves in that place in their life, what am I doing here? How did I get here? If they can find a mindfulness group of some sort, there are different types, and just find the ability to sit at peace and let your mind rest, you often find your way out of that dark place unexpectedly. People think we need to do all this talking and do all this processing. And sometimes the answer is really just in
Quiet.
silence.
It's quiet. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I always say it's kind of like you can say it's a fog or like cobwebs, right? So when you have so much trauma and so much grief and complex trauma, most of us have complex trauma from childhood too. It's like all these cobwebs are in there and they're always just crawling, right? Like there's so much busy work happening. We're thinking, 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 and trying to solve all of our problems. But if we just get still and quiet and allow ourselves to rest mentally, it's really powerful. But it's even more powerful when you do it in groups, because that was your turning point. It was certainly a turning point for me. I described I went to a 3 day silent retreat,
Mm.
and I kind of dreaded it. I had to do it for the MBSR training to be a facilitator. And on the third day, I closed my eyes and I just saw my path forward. It was covered in leaves before. And all of a sudden, the leaves just drifted away and there was a path. It was so clear. And I was like, wow, how did I not see this before? But it was the leaves were all of the thoughts and the bargaining and the anger and the depression and the denial. It was all of that from multiple things that have happened throughout my life.
That's
Um,
like such a beautiful way to explain what silence can create if
yeah,
you just quiet down the noise.
yeah,
It's so important. And one of the things that I noticed, and it wasn't until my sister pointed it out, she would notice that every morning when I would wake up, I would have to either have like a TV or a song or a
mm,
podcast or some kind of something, some noise taking up space. Because goodness forbid, I woke up that morning in silence without checking the phone or something. And
right,
so she was like, she came up to me, just all casual, ever so casually. And she was like, you don't know how to be with yourself. And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, you don't know how to be with yourself. I'm like, what does that even mean? She was like, do you notice how every morning you have to have sound or something sounding in the room?
yeah,
You can't be in silence because in silence means being with yourself.
yeah,
And she was like, you probably can't manage that. And I looked at her as if it was a challenge. Again, like, what's her problem? So, like,
yeah,
I looked at her as if it was a challenge, and I was like, oh, I'm going to show you, or better yet, I'm going to show me that I can do this. And I
yeah,
dedicated myself to waking up in the mornings to pure silence. I'm not checking a phone. I'm not grabbing a book. I'm just, even if I'm just up and staring at the ceiling, just like,
yeah,
yeah, it's another day, man. Like, right
right.
on. What are we
Just
gonna do? What
peace.
are we gonna make of it? And
Yeah.
shh, just nothing. And I'm literally just in silence, and it was hard. It was hard at
Mhm.
first, and I realized that I was trying to mask the silence with any kind of noise
Yeah,
because to silence everything around me would mean that me would become loud, and I
right.
just didn't want to hear no more of that.
Right. It's an avoidant behavior. You're
Of course,
avoiding dealing with your own real thoughts.
yeah, because there's so many, and it's so
There's
much,
so
and it's just like
many.
it's overwhelming, and you're just like, I'm not doing anything. And
Right.
beauty of silence, man, and especially if you do silence in nature, oh, chef's kiss. That
Right.
is just like, guys, I'm telling you, me and Leslie have lived this because we lived it. Silence in nature is chef's kiss. It is the most beautiful thing because you are surrounded by the most beautiful noises that you never thought to give time to. And
Yeah.
they are gifts. It's the leaves, the wind, the birds, a little river if there's one in the background. Even if you're in the city and you're hearing chaos, you just listen to your city, listen to the movement of the world.
Right.
Like, and
Right.
just in silence. And in that silence, the creativity that comes out of it
Mm,
afterwards and the
right.
enlightenment, like there's just like this light bulb moment that may even come up depending
Right.
upon the question. And as you mentioned, doing that in group, because I then went on to facilitate groups. That's one of my favorite things to do now. When you see that light bulb moment happen in real time with somebody that's in your group as a facilitator, that is the most rewarding thing because in that moment something happened, their switch happened, and you
Right.
got to see that. And you know that now that person is going to go from whatever they're doing to switch. This is what I should be doing. This is where I should be going. Let me
Right.
do that
Their
now.
path is going to clear.
Yep.
So your path started clearing when you were doing the groups, you were
Yes.
leading the groups, and then what was next?
I think the one thing that also contributed to my path as well was movement.
Mm,
Definitely, I started surfing and I started getting more involved in the ocean. That's nature, man. Being with nature.
mm,
If anybody listening has ever surfed, even if you body surfed or just ridden a whitewash, that feeling of like being so united with an ocean that way is incredible. Like I can't explain it. And I know some people are terrified of the ocean and it's whatever, but riding a wave in the ocean like that was I can't even explain how my life really went from black and white to color. So I
wow.
knew then there's a couple things I knew I needed to do. There's also a shaking and movement thing that we are trained to teach with the Center for Mind Body Medicine. My movement looks like the ocean or swimming, surfing, being in the ocean, and the gym. I
Okay.
now combine that with meditation and mindfulness techniques, and it was just becoming more clear and clear and clear. And one of the things I also want to mention to those of us that are in that space where we're like, what am I doing at this job? Like, what the heck? Like, what am I actually doing? I ask that you have grace with yourself, and I also ask that you give gratitude to that place
Mm,
because we need to be grateful for our struggles. If my
yes.
struggle was working at a chain restaurant, that's a blessing, man. That place taught I needed to go through that, not only to meet
Mm,
the people I did, but also to experience what I experienced to get to where I'm at now.
right. Right.
It
It's a
was all
driving force.
yeah, yeah, but it's important. I don't look down at any other things that I did when I had to, because I was like, man, how am I gonna make like ends meet? And I
Right.
was just working wherever. I worked at a Cuban sandwich spot making sandwiches.
Yeah.
Like, and then the guy didn't want to pay me, so I got my money. But anyway, the point is, the point is, please don't look down at any position that you're at right now, because if you are listening to this and you are like, man, what am I doing at this place? The fact that you're being that curious with yourself, that is something to be so grateful, so like applaud yourself about that type of
Mm,
questioning.
absolutely.
People don't do that.
Absolutely.
They stay in the mundane routine.
Yeah.
So applaud yourself for that, for sure.
Yes. Yes. That is true. All very, very true.
Yeah.
Very true. So, yeah, I think that circling through a few of the coping mechanisms in addition that you were using and that you recommend for people who are going through, you were going through a tremendous loss of two things, your
Hmm.
job and your love. And so that was a double hit for you. And I know you haven't highlighted or gone really through specifics of each of your stages, but we have a pretty clear picture
Yeah.
of what they looked like. When someone at least has the awareness that they need help or they need to do something in addition to what they're doing, what are their first steps?
So they've already recognized that there's something that needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what I did. Once I realized that there was something that needed to be done, I thought to myself, who is somebody I admire?
Mm-hmm.
Living or not, male, female, doesn't matter. Who's somebody I admire? And I thought of that person. And then I started to write down traits that I think that person has. They're independent, they're humble, they're hardworking, they take care of their body, they're mindful, they're patient, they're kind, they're this, they're that, they're family oriented. I wrote down all those things. And then from then on, I strive to become that person. However I could, I would just try to become that person.
Mm-hmm.
That was on a personal, like, I'm broke. I don't have any money to hire anybody. I just know that I got to figure my stuff out. I would
Right.
put that list in front of me, and the next day I will look at that list and be like, be that list, because it costs you nothing to be that list.
Right.
It costs you nothing to be kind, patient, humble, hardworking. It costs you nothing to be family oriented. And I started to try to become that list. And once you take ownership of those type of descriptive terms and you apply them to yourself versus the loser, the self-blame, the this and that, once you apply these terms that you are look up to and you apply them to yourself, you start walking and talking and acting and being that way.
Right.
Once you start acting and walking and talking and being that way, I know this is going to sound all hippy dippy and weirdo, but I promise you, not only are you going to want to surround yourself around different people and environments, but different people, your kind of people will be attracted to you.
Mm,
Light attracts light, but be
right.
careful because dark also comes to it. But you'll know if you know and you're taking care of yourself, you'll know like, no, that's not my kind of person. But
Right.
it was crazy how, Leslie, people were starting to come to me that I would never think would come to me and talk to me and say things like, "Man, there's just something about you. Like, I just want to talk to you. I don't know. You just like give off this energy." And
Mm-hmm.
one of those was actually the CEO of a nonprofit organization that I went on to work with, and I learned so much from. And they are the ones that got me started on public speaking. And
Nice.
I met her,
Awesome.
the CEO, I met her in the Mind Body group. She
Wow.
heard my testimony. She was in my group.
Serendipity.
Yep. She was in my group, and I was at this point training to be we were all in the second week group where we came back to now learn how to be facilitators. And she was in there. She heard my testimony. We were on break. She comes outside. Shout out to Sheila. She comes out and says, I want you to work for us. Like, you're amazing. And I was like, mind you, what did I tell you? I had just quit the Buffalo Wild Wings.
Right. It
I'm
just fell
surfing
into
for like
place.
we're surfing in South Florida trying to help these kids. Like I'm making like no, I don't know how I'm gonna eat. Like it doesn't even it makes no sense. And she's like, I want you to come work for us. And I'm like, yes, I don't know what it is, but yes, I will do it.
Right. I'll do it. I'll do whatever.
And then she told me what it was. And it's just like this amazing nonprofit. And I ended up being working as the outreach person. I was the face of the organization. So as the face of the organization, my goal was to go out to community events, table events, shake hands, step on stages, talk about the organization. And one of my dear friends, who still is my dear friend, Billy Morgan, was like, Bev, yeah, you got to go talk about the organization to Davie Police or some police department in South Florida. And I was like, oh yeah, you know I can't do police. She was like, why not? I was like, dude, I haven't been around police officers since the shooting. Like I can't see a uniform or hear a radio or see a cruiser. I'm gonna throw up. Like it makes me sick. She was like, yeah, well, I can't do it, and that's your job. So this is the details. And she never talks
Wow.
to
You were
me like
just
that.
thrown in.
She never talks to me like that. And she knew what she was doing. She knew that it was time. I swear she's like my
Mm.
angel on earth, that one. And I went and I'm shaking in my boots. And I'm in front of all these police officers. And I talk about the organization. I'm like almost about to throw up and I'm about to leave when this girl comes and she starts talking about her experience as someone who got locked up with a mental health issue. And I found out that this course was yes, crisis intervention training. So it's teaching officers how to approach someone with a mental health issue. She
Huh.
was talking there as as a person that had been locked up and how they didn't respect her mental health issues, how they didn't approach it like appropriately. And she's educating them. And I was like, whoa. And I went to the coordinator and I was like, hey, so who talks to the officers about how to take care of their own mental health? She was like, oh, I mean, we kind of do that, but it's really so that they know how to work with the community. And I was like, I think it's important that they need to know how to work with themselves in order to work with the community. Do you mind if I share a quick can I share my stuff? And she's like, what is it? And I told her, she was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry what you went through, but that's beautiful. Can you please do that? Can you talk after her? And I was like, okay. Leslie, I went back up there and that was my first time. And they all stood up, standing ovation. They hugged me and
Wow.
they were like,
Oh,
they looked at me, dude. They looked at me and they were like, you're still one of us.
wow. Wow.
Hmm.
Incredible.
Yeah. It took off from there.
Wow. Amazing. What an amazing story. Like you trusted when you stepped away from Buffalo Wild Wings with no
I had
plan.
nothing, no
With
plan,
no plan,
no
you
money.
just trusted.
Yeah.
Wow. And then it fell into place very quickly and your
It
path
was like
started clearing.
it was like a snowball effect. I'm telling you, if you just take that leap, it was a snowball effect. I then got connected with the United Way of Broward and Amelia. Love her. She works for them, and she was like, "You need to write a book. You need to start your nonprofit, and you need to be talking on stages for a living." She was like, "That's what you need to do." And I did. I started my nonprofit. I'm writing my book, and I'm talking on stages. And she's watching me still.
Incredible.
And she's like,
Incredible.
"You did that." And I thanked her for getting my master's because she has one. I was like, "Thank you." She was like, "You did that." She's like, "That was all you, girl." But I'm
Yeah.
telling you how people just started falling into place and the path, right? The leaves were just clearing out more and more and more to like, here we are now.
Wow.
It's
Yeah, I
crazy.
think it's a kind of a unspoken strategy. I'm going to say a strategy or a tool for people who have suffered a tremendous loss and gone through a horrific trauma is turning your tragedy into triumph and telling the story and helping others. So using the things that you've gone through to help others is also healing for you.
Yes.
And we can't immediately do that. I think a lot of times people go through something like, oh, she's going to be a spokesperson someday for, X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
It has to be on each person's timeline. And they, again, circling back to the whole point of this episode, you have to go through the grieving process in order to get to the place where you can do something useful and good with what's happened to you.
And there's no other way to say it than to just be really honest and knowing that it's not a pretty place, man. But
Yeah.
most of the places that are worth getting to aren't,
Right.
right?
But
We'd
on the
rather,
other side, it's
oh yeah.
better than you can imagine.
What? Because you can stay at the good paying job and get the retirement when you're now at an age where you can't even enjoy retirement because you're freaking, we're like tired and old or whatever. Or take that leap. It's scary. And it's gonna, I'm telling you, as an entrepreneur, it is rough. It's not for the faint of heart. So you're gonna go through the heavy. It's gonna be hard.
Mhm.
It's gonna be long nights and, early mornings or whatever the thing is. But yes, it's gonna be worth it. And
Yeah.
it's gonna try you. It's gonna try you. You're gonna be challenged. You're gonna be challenged in what am I a part of? I just lost everything. I lost my career, my promotion, my retirement money, my benefits. How are we gonna, keep everybody insured and all the things as you're trying to pursue your passion? And it's a grief, it's a loss of identity, it's a loss of career, it's a loss of money, it's a loss of it's a loss, and the loss always feels like a definite thing. But if you are going into a loss to get somewhere where you're meant to be, keep going. That loss feeling will get lost as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's-
That brings up something that we haven't touched on, and I'm interested in your opinion. Oftentimes, when people go through or have experienced a lot of trauma or a traumatic event and a loss, they go through a period of apathy, and some people stay there where they're kind of in a place of what's the point? What's the point? Nothing matters. And I'm curious if you went through that period and I don't know how people get to the other side of that, where sometimes for years, or even decades, they live in this apathetic place and they stay at Buffalo Wild Wings or wherever they are, knowing that they have other talents and other things they could be sharing with the world, but they just stay in one place because they don't know that they don't see that it matters. They're not motivated by anything.
it's
What
such
it,
it's such a good question because how do you get out of it?
yes. How do you get out of a place of apathy where
You gotta want to.
nothing matters?
You gotta want to. And I don't know what that gentle nudge or not so gentle nudge is going to be, but it's going to nudge you. And I mean, I would rather it doesn't nudge you and I would rather you feel the apathy and do something about it. But how can I make you feel something you're numb to? You're numb. You're not feeling it.
Right.
But there's going to be a gentle nudge
Yeah.
or not so gentle nudge. And what does that look like? Unfortunately, it looks like different things to different people. And when that thing happens, it is a telltale sign that it's telling you it's time for a change. But it's
Mhm.
so completely personal and up to you to decide to take that sign of, okay, I need to change this profession or I need to leave Buffalo Wild Wings. It's up to you to decide to leave it.
Uh, I tend to think that people miss the nudge
Hmm.
when things are too busy. So I think the mindfulness piece helped you,
Yep,
definitely helped me to clear the path and start caring again. And so often we're so numbed with whatever it is, sex, drugs, alcohol, shopping, whatever we're using to numb us, or we've busied ourselves, like numbing with work or working out, something, or the podcasts and the doom scrolling. There's so many things we can use to be distracted. I think the only way to get out of a state of apathy and just not caring or thinking things don't matter is to get quiet and silent again.
I
And
agree.
then be ready to listen to the nudges. And because sometimes the nudges are shoves,
That's what I'm saying. Like, I really hope it isn't, but sometimes it might have to be because you're not listening. And
right?
that's like the worst thing,
Right. The
for
universe is telling you the job sucks. It's time to get out. Well, you might actually lose the job
yeah,
and your house and your car and all
the
of your things
job
because you didn't listen to the nudges.
or,
And now,
or the relationship or, the
yeah,
situation that you're in, just period. There's these nudges that are telling you and they're telling you and they're telling you. And if you're listening to this and you're like, I haven't had any nudges, and we kind of low key know it's you, do what Leslie just said. Maybe just sit in silence. And if you can go to nature or if you can go to something that's quiet, like even if it's quiet in your room, like just quiet, do that. Sit in
just
the silence,
giving yourself
time your phone.
time.
Do
Hmm.
5 minutes to start because it may be a
Yes.
lot. That's a
Yes.
lot too. Three if you
Yes.
need to start slow, right? There's set an alarm, set a little thing, and just sit. You'll
I
feel
used to
silly
sit in
at
my
first.
car.
Yep.
I
That's
was always running around and always doing all of these things. And I would just pull in the driveway and spend 5 minutes sitting in the car in the
that's
garage
so good.
or in a parking lot, getting ready to go in the store, turn the car off, put my phone in my purse, and sit back for 5 minutes.
That's so good in your car because that's you've been the ripping and running in the traffic and the this and the that, and you
Yeah.
finally get parked and stationed, whether in front of your house or wherever, and you're just like, and just
Yes.
turn everything off and just sit there and just sit there.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. That is a great way, and it's all such a personal journey.
Hmm.
I'm telling you, people always ask me, and I'm like, it has to come from you. And trust,
Yeah.
your body is keeping score of things. Your body is telling you it's time to change. It's time to leave. It's time to eat different, right?
Right. It
Your
might look
body,
like sickness,
it might look like
illness.
sickness. It might look
Yep.
like illness. It might look
Injuries.
like loss of hair. It might look like so many things physically. It's going to feel like so many things physically. Your body is literally keeping score like the book, the good book. It's such a good book, guys. Body Keeps the Score. Please look that book up. Get it on audio. But it's basically telling you that your body is doing just that. It's keeping score of all the things that you've gone through. And one of the things I was telling Leslie earlier, March is a rough month for me. March is the month where I lost my first very best friend, my cousin. March is the month where I lost my grandma. She was our last living grandma. Now all my grandparents are gone. And it's also where I lost my beloved. And they all happened different, obvious years, but all in the same like little time, 2 weeks. Like
Hmm.
it just,
Yeah.
so I'm thinking my brain, for whatever reason, is going, right? But my
Right.
body, come January, it's already anticipating March.
Right.
It's
Right.
weird. I'm already like lethargic and I'm already like, boo, like what's going on? Why do I feel like this? So I push myself to the gym. But once I hit March 1st, I'm just like blah. I don't want to
Right.
do anything because that body is keeping that score.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even when we aren't aware.
Yeah.
100%.
Happens seasonal, especially Christmas, New Year's. Next thing you know, we're thinking about that person that we lost in death, but we don't know that we're thinking about that person, but your body does. So what
Yes.
do? How do you handle when you know that your body is keeping score? Well, you go back to the things that you know have worked for you before. For me,
Right.
it's movement and it's talk therapy and it's meditation and mindfulness.
Yep.
I'm a spiritual woman, as I mentioned. So if I have to pull out my Bible and pray, I'll do that too. So
Yeah.
what has worked for you before? If it's worked before, it's gonna work again, but we have to recognize that it's time to utilize it.
Yes. Yeah. I definitely think we all go through periods where things get really bad. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm not using my tools. I'm not journal.
Like, when's the
I'm
last
not
time
working
I
out. I'm not
meditated?
journaling. I'm not eating well. I'm not grounding. I'm not going for walks. Oh,
God, because
maybe
you feel like this. Yeah.
that's why it got bad.
That's
Oh
why your body's
yeah.
telling you, hello, can we
Right.
do one
That's
or
why
two
I'm
a day?
sick. That's why I'm
Yeah.
right. All of these things. Um, this has been great. And I know
Yeah.
this is going to be a really long episode, but I
We're
don't
gonna
want to
cut it
walk
out.
away from it until we talk about
What not to say?
what not to say and what to say.
Mm.
Just some suggestions. I think it would be a really good offering because I think that everyone does their best in almost every situation. I love Maya Angelou's. We're all doing our best, even when we're not doing something good. But in this situation, especially death and job loss, people do not know what to say, and it makes people so uncomfortable. And so we've all been there where we didn't know. Uh, but there are some just general things you can say, and there are some things you should never say. So let's highlight a few of those for people.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that was said to me after Jakai passed away, I had a woman, she's no, I don't know if she's still with the agency, she's another police officer, high ranking, come up to me and say, well, I know exactly how you're feeling. I just went through a divorce. Now, at the time, that pissed me off. Fast forward to Bev now, I understand what she was trying to do. She was trying to create empathy and trying to say, "Hey, I know what loss feels like.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here with you." But rather than to say anything similar to that, she compared, which is what we don't want to do, okay? She
Right.
compared her divorce to Jakai being deceased. And in the moment, it upset me so bad because I'm like, you can call him though, right? Y'all got kids, so you still drop off the kids and you see him, right?
Right.
I was so upset. And I don't think, again, knowing what I know now, it wasn't done in any ill intent. It was done to show empathy, to show, hey, babe, you're not alone.
Right.
So, what I ask is before something like that is said, think of why you're saying it. If you're saying it because you want Bev to know that she's not alone, then I prefer you say, Bev, you're not alone.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be by your side, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like things like that. Like we like to, when something is happening to someone, we always bring it back to us. It's
Right.
like,
Right. It's a natural thing to do.
it's just what we do, right? Like somebody can be telling me, like, yeah, I went through a divorce. Oh, for real? Yeah, I remember this one time when I went through a breakup. It's not about me. It's about them and their divorce right now, right?
Right.
So if you want
But
to
it
make
is
it
a very natural thing for
very
people to
natural.
want to do that and want to tell the
Hmm.
story of someone they lost, but
Yeah,
you don't have the capacity if you just
no,
lost someone
no,
to hear about their
no,
story.
I
And
don't want to.
they're human. We understand they're doing their best.
Yes.
But if you're listening and someone has just suffered a tremendous loss, it may not be the right time to share your own loss.
No.
You could say something very quickly,
Mhm.
wow, I lost my boyfriend. If you ever want to talk, I'm here.
Beautiful.
That would be, but you don't tell the story.
No,
And, but it's hard
it's
because
hard. It's hard.
everyone, we all are carrying our own grief, and other people's grief does tend to bring up our own. And some people who haven't really worked through theirs, it comes up in really strange comments. But I agree, that's a good one. I think everything happens for a reason is also a really terrible thing to say.
Yeah.
Um, some people do not like hearing they're in a better place. Our religions and our beliefs about the afterlife are all different.
Yeah.
And so don't assume that that is going to bring someone peace.
Yeah.
At least you still have, you know, I think one of the most hurtful things that was said to me after my dad died, which caused me to delay my grief for 20 years, was, were you even close to him?
Mm,
So diminishing how
mm.
much someone
Yeah.
should grieve based on any factor about the person's relationship with the person who's passed,
Mm.
or if it's a job, oh, you didn't even like that job. Doesn't matter.
Matter.
Doesn't
Doesn't matter.
matter.
Doesn't
Doesn't matter.
matter.
So anything like that, I think, is just a no.
No.
It's a no.
One
Um,
one that I've gotten was, I mean, you'll move on.
you're beautiful. You'll find someone else. Like,
A
no.
cool way out.
Right. Right.
What are you saying?
Right.
Like I get that you're trying to I guess convince me that I'll meet someone. That's not the point. That's not what we're,
Right.
and I get it. And guys, we're not saying this because we haven't done it or because we think we're better or
Right.
whatever. We've made these mistakes before.
Oh, yeah.
But if we're trying to really be less grief illiterate, that's not something I would recommend saying to someone when you go up to someone and it's like, oh, you'll move on, you'll meet somebody else. That's not the point.
It's not that, and it's not comforting. And it
Not
comes
the
down
point.
to intent versus impact. People's intent when they are saying something to you after you've suffered a loss, the intent is always good.
Yes.
The impact is not.
No.
So stick to some very general things like, I'm here for you.
Yep.
I feel like I'm so sorry for your loss is okay for
Yeah,
most
I
people.
think so.
It's a
That's
very generic thing, but it's safe and
common.
it's
It's safe.
okay.
We
And
know it works.
right, stick with safe. Stick with safe. Like no stories, no making it about you. After my accident with my friend, another person came to help. They were just actually coming, and endless stories of her own experiences. I was
Oh
two
my
and 3 days out
God.
from
No.
an accident with my own trauma, and my friend was in a coma. And this person couldn't stop talking about, I couldn't even focus. Like I was, so yeah, like, and still,
Intent versus impact. We get what they were trying to do, but the impact,
right,
no,
right. Don't make it about you. Don't
no,
make it
no,
about you in any way ever.
no,
It's
no, no.
never, it's never about you. It's always about the person. And so, um,
Oh, I want to discuss like what this one person told me, was sharing with me. She lost her son to suicide. And I can't imagine the devastation of losing a child, and
mhm.
especially any suicide is, I can't imagine. She's extremely just, it just happened going through it. And you have the officer that comes to give the notification. I'm already kind of like sinking in my seat because I'm like, oh God, what did this officer do? Because it's like never good, right? Whenever they talk about like, and then this officer, I'm like, oh God, here, what now? Please, no. And
Right.
she's like, uh, we were there, it just happened. I'm going through it, I'm going through it, I'm hysterical. And he comes to me, looks at me, he's like, It says my name. He's like, you're gonna be okay. Like, you're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
She was like, he had no knowledge of knowing that I was gonna be okay.
Right.
He looked
Right.
scared saying that to me. She was like, but you know what it did? And this is coming from her. She said, you know what it did? And I'm like, oh my gosh, what did it do? Like, is she so mad? Did she go to his internal
Right.
affairs? Did she write like what? She was like, it gave me hope.
Oh,
And I needed hope
that's what she needed.
because I
Yeah.
had lost all hope when I lost my son. And I'm like, do I recall anybody come up to me and being like, Bev, you're gonna be okay. Even with like a trembly voice and a teary eye and just an intense look in my face and just be like, you're gonna be okay. Did I have that? I don't think I did.
No. It's the affirmation she needed that she couldn't say to
Yeah.
herself in that moment.
Hope. It's hope.
Hope. It's hope.
When it comes to death loss, the one thing that's gonna for sure work is giving somebody hope. And the
Yes.
best way to do that is to just let them know, I'm gonna be right here. If you need me, you're
Hmm.
giving them hope of the ability to be able to discuss something. You're giving them
Yes.
hope of the ability to have community and support again. You're giving them hope. We want to give hope because when you lose somebody in death, you feel hopeless, helpless, lonely, lost.
Right. Right. Brene Brown talks about interviewing people who had suffered tremendous loss, and she was looking for connections with people who still have joy and
Mhm,
hope.
mhm,
And I'll never forget what she talks about, and I think it's really relevant here because I think it's a really great thing to do if someone has suffered a loss. And that is say something like, do you want to talk about them? Because many times when someone is going through a loss or has gone through a loss, especially if it's these unthinkable tragedies, school shootings, suicides, loss of a child, they feel like people avoid them.
You want to
They avoid, they
people
tiptoe
tiptoe
around.
around the deceased, and I'm like, I want to talk about him.
Right. So giving them the ability to share their memories and talk about the person is tremendously helpful
So helpful.
because most people are too afraid.
Mm-hmm.
They're uncomfortable and they're afraid of being uncomfortable. So just saying to someone, do you want to talk about them, gives them such a relief. It's a relief
And I'm
because
so glad you said that. It's so true.
yeah, because otherwise you have all these beautiful memories of Jakai. And
Mm-hmm.
I think last year you were really going through it because there was a memorial. And I remember saying, tell me about him.
Mm-hmm.
And you talked on and on and on and on and on. And I hope it helped. But
It did. Thank you. It did.
yeah, but like we don't think about that because we're so uncomfortable because we don't know for sure what it feels like. But we know how we've felt when we've lost someone. And it, I think it's probably one of the most powerful
Yes.
gifts we can give to someone. Just sit with them, make the call, send a text. Do you want to talk about them?
Mm,
Yeah, of course we do.
talk
Because
about
all
them.
the thoughts of them are going through our mind
Yes.
over and over, and we're alone
Already.
with it. We're alone with that. But if we can share it, then it's beautiful. Like what you've shared today
Mm-hmm.
has been beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. And it's even like like you said, like the reminiscing of that person. It
Mm-hmm.
almost brings a little bit of them back to life.
Yeah.
You, you know that they're gone, but you keep them alive in those little funny memory stories. And that's one of the things, like people tiptoe around talking about the deceased. Talk about him, say his name, tell his or her that their story. Talk about them. Get together and discuss them. And for like the holidays and stuff, or for any day, really, make their favorite meal and be like, man, this was what they used to love to eat. Like this was their thing. You
Yeah.
know, we want to honor that person, but we want to continue to honor our experience with that person.
Yes.
That matters.
And have gratitude for it. I think that was
Yeah.
the point of Brene Brown's story. She said she even spoke with people from who had children in Sandy Hook who lost their lives,
Mhm.
and they lit up when they talked
About their
about their
baby.
child. So instead of focusing on the loss and all of the thought patterns you can go down about that person no longer being in your life, they chose to tell the stories and be grateful for the time that they had that person in their life.
That's beautiful.
And that's what it allows you to do when someone says, do you want to talk about them?
Mhm.
They aren't, you're not saying, do you want to talk about what it's like to not have the
No, no,
person in your life
no,
anymore? No.
no, not that. But you definitely want to bring back those memories.
The memories,
Yes,
because there's so many.
so many. So, guys, and again, this is just, listen, this is something that is not easy or probably comfortable for, the outsider person to do as this person is grieving. But if you were to just gently sit next to them and try one of these tactics, let us know. Goodness forbid you have to go through it. We're hoping everybody's alive and well. But if you should come across this and you should learn, like, oh, really? Yes. And think for it about yourself if you've lost someone. Would you like it if someone came up to you right now and asked you, hey, do you want to talk about them? Think for yourself and answer that for yourself.
Right. It may be too soon or it may not be a good time, but
Yeah.
there may be a time when
But
that
I can
is
imagine that
when,
most are going to be like, yeah, actually, I wouldn't mind talking about them. Like, I
yeah,
miss them. This is one thing they used to do. They used to annoy me, but I love it. And I know I miss it now, or whatever the thing is. So, just a couple things to think about, right? So, saying, you know, do you want to talk about it? Asking that question, do you want to talk about them is important. Bringing back memories about them is important. Um, I know Leslie was like, I'm going to be here. If I went through something similar. If you want to talk,
mhm,
I'll be around,
yep,
right? Looking at that person and just letting them know you're you're going to be okay,
yeah,
you know? And you're
yeah,
not telling them like you're reading the future or anything of that sort. What you're doing is you're sprinkling and you're giving them hope that they can see another second, minute, hour, 24-hour day without that person in their life. You're gonna
right.
be okay.
You're
You're
going to
good.
be okay is important because it's also okay that you're not okay
Yeah,
right now.
yeah, it's fine.
It's okay that you're feeling whatever you're feeling.
The world is upside down. Like in a split second, your whole world just flipped.
Right. But you
Okay.
are going to be okay.
Yeah, because you will.
Yeah.
We all will be.
Yeah.
This is great.
This was great. It was very good. Thank you for your stories and
Thank
think
you.
sharing all of this. It's your journey is a powerful story for anyone who's suffered any kind of loss and had life go completely upside down and find their way and purpose through some of the loss.
Thank you. And thank you, Leslie, for keeping me going and asking me very important questions, keeping me on track and keeping us on track. We learned so much today. And we're just kind of rolling with it, but we learned so much. We learned about the 5 stages. We learned about the do's and don'ts after grief. We learned about how do you get that switch? When does it happen? What do you do when you're down there? We learned how we can use our own testimonies to create these triumphant like stories and utilize it. And we learned that grief is okay. It's going to look different to everybody, and the overcoming of it will as well.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
thank you, Leslie.
All right.
Thank you
Thank you
guys for
both.
watching and listening.
Thank
All
you.
right. Love you guys.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. From a
Bye.
law enforcement background. You guys to see me like this, like the all the time. And I feel like this.